Chapter 25. That was wonderful, Riley, Tricia laughed as they quietly let themselves into Paul's and Morian's living quarters. The show was the bomb. I haven't laughed that hard in years, Riley admitted. I'm so glad you were able to get tickets for all of us, Morian. Morian laughed while she removed her jacket. It helps having friends in the right places, she teased, before she stopped and gazed at the numerous bodies sprawled all over the living room. It would appear that the men had just as much excitement as we did, she chuckled. The women's gazes passed over the room. Cree was sound asleep with Hope on his chest. Kalo was in the chair next to him, a stuffed animal and pink blanket still clutched in his hand. His head was thrown back, and soft, regular snores filled the room. Oh my, Melina whispered, walking over to gently scoop Hope up into her arms. Let's go back to our living quarters, she murmured, when Cree and Kalo both suddenly came awake. They both nodded and rose stiffly out of the chairs, looking around disoriented for a moment, before rubbing a hand over their faces. They nodded to Morian and the other women before quietly exiting the room. One by one, the women woke their mates. They gathered the children and their belongings before quietly wishing Morian and Paul a good night. Morian sighed when she closed the door behind the last one. Leaning against the door, she stared at Paul with a tender expression. Thank you, she whispered, as he picked up the last of the toys and placed them in a basket near the window. For what? He asked, turning and wrapping his arms around her when she came forward. For being you, she said. For giving me such a beautiful family. For finding me. I'm the one who should be saying thank you, he admitted. You know, if Morah is half as adventuresome as the other kids, we're going to have our hands full. Morian tilted her head back and laughed. Looking at him again, she cupped his cheeks and brushed a kiss against his lips. Her breath caught when his arms tightened around her, and he pulled her closer, deepening the kiss and leaving her breathless. I wouldn't expect her to be anything less, Morian murmured. She'll be just like her mother, Paul said, bending and sweeping Morian into his arms, and walking toward their bedroom. Adventurous, intelligent, strong, and incredibly brave. You are such a charmer. I'll remind you of that when she goes on her first adventure, Morian giggled, pressing a kiss against his skin. Did you know that you have glitter on your neck? Well, I guess I'll just need to get a shower before I make love to you then, Paul murmured, setting her on her feet and stepping back so he could pull his shirt off. How about I help you? Morian suggested, with a seductive smile. She pulled off her own blouse and tossed it to the side. I'll just make sure that you don't miss a spot. In the other room, Morah giggled and wiggled her nose. A moment later, a tiny gold dragon with shimmering crystal scales fluttered to the floor with the help of the golden symbiote lying next to the crib, and hurried to the door. In the background, she could hear her parents' soft laughter and the sound of the shower. Pushing the door open, she hopped down the hallway to the kitchen. No one heard the sound of the cookie jar lid when it was removed. Well, no one but a golden symbiote and the two floating figures enjoying the pumpkin-shaped cookies with her.